What are you munching on there, Bev? What are you not sharing with us?
Dried
Guys,
cranberries and blueberries and walnuts.
Oh, okay. All the good healthy stuff. Cool. Awesome, awesome. All right, so we got the crew on here. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. I know we're gonna probably have a bunch of people, signing on here. Usually people hop on and everyone usually gets on by 1:20-ish, but we'll go ahead and get started because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Today, just as a recap, we are going through our prospecting and sales secrets series, if you will, and we've been talking a lot about the 7 steps in prospecting. Last week we talked about specifically on how to create urgency, and also drilling down into assuming the appointment. So making sure that we're not being too open-ended about how we ask for the appointment, but we're very specific with getting a yes response, getting a positive response, setting expectations, and then basically rolling into the appointment from there, right? And so, Beverly, just as a quick recap, let's just cover the psychology that we talked about last week behind getting, setting expectations, getting that yes response, and then going for the appointment. Why you train and coach it that way.
To get the people to show up.
Right. Right.
I always say a great salesperson can always get a person to pay. And then they have the buyer's remorse. And the same goes for when we're on the phones with people. We can get anybody to commit to anything, but then when they hang up that phone, they're like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Right? It's like QVC at midnight or QVC
right.
when you're sitting.
Right. Right. Why the heck did I set that appointment? Right.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing with the people on the other end. If we don't set the proper expectations, they get off the phone scratching their head wondering what just happened. So it really is so important to help them to understand the process and what to expect, and asking them, is this the right time or is it too premature for where you are in the process?
Right.
And then they have an understanding, and always leaving them that out. Give them that opportunity to cancel. It's, hey, if I know this might not be a high priority for you, but if something else comes up, if your buddy calls and says, hey, let's go have a beer, or hey, that's important to you, I get it. Just do me the respect and just let me know and we'll reschedule. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just respect and
right.
helping them to understand that everyone's time is valuable.
Right. It's kind of diffusing the pressure a little bit, if I'm hearing you. Cool. Awesome. Now you've trained with Commissions Inc. You've trained hundreds and hundreds of inside sales agents, agents in general. I know you're still active in the trenches, and so let's talk about different types of leads for a second, and what the expectation should be on the different types of lists. If an agent is taking their time and they're prospecting, and we want to really we want to track our results, and that's really kind of going into today's conversation. We're going to be talking about overcoming objections is a big one, but I also want to, before I do that, I want to talk about tracking results, because outside of really getting the objection cycle down, we've covered building rapport and qualifying, we've covered building value, we've covered creating urgency, assuming the appointment, and we're going to go over overcoming objections. But basically, if you get the first part right, you're always going to get objections, but you should get a lot less of them, right? If you're getting 1 through 4 essentially done the right way. Would you agree with that? You can eliminate a lot of unnecessary objections if you're building rapport, if you have the right tone, pace, hesitation, modulation. You're going to get less knee jerks, right? All that good stuff. So would you agree with that as an overall assessment of a call?
Yes, and there's a difference between an objection and an excuse.
Right.
Understanding the difference. An objection is something that you can help somebody work through and find out what has to happen for them to need to make that move. Mm-hmm. The excuse is one of those things that, at what point can you not get them off the fence? If they got shitty credit, they got shitty credit. I mean, that's a problem. It isn't going to happen.
Right.
So it's being able to recognize that difference in tracking. Oh my God, you're talking the jam, because so many people pay for 10 different lead sources. If you're not having the proper conversations, you're not able to identify where to spend the money, because all 10 of those sources aren't going to be the best source for you.
Right. Right. So let's break that down. We like to break our list down into A lists, B lists, and C lists. So as a general rule, we would consider like a Zillow or a Realtor type of lead as part of an A list, right? And then below that, a B list might be like a Facebook lead, right? On a B list, seller or buyer. And you might be able to throw a for sale by owner and expireds into that B list because they're hard to convert, but they're still really good. And then a C list would be like really old junk internet leads, and like geographical farming leads would kind of be how we break down our leads as far as ability to be able to convert. So I don't know if you've tracked it this way, like on an A list, how many appointments should you be able to set on an A list per hour if you're making consistent calls? How many appointments should you be able to set?
Realtor.com.
Yeah, from like an
Lord, in an hour? Well, first of all, because I track, depends on if you're manually dialing, you're not going to have as many conversations.
Yep.
If you're using a dialer, you're going to have more conversations.
Yep.
On the A list, you should be over 40%. Or I'm sorry, 4% conversion. Because
Okay.
I think the bigger question is how many people are going to answer the phone. So,
yeah.
right, in that hour, if you're realistically hitting, now, are we talking speed to lead and as soon as they're coming in?
Yeah, I'm talking like you're calling them within the same day that they come in. You're right, or they're newer A-list leads, right? So
A-list leads, you should be converting. If you get 10 people answer the phone, you should be hitting 4 to 5 people on a solo lead, absolutely, if not higher.
And then like let's just say like let's say the A-list leads they're kind of like a week old. How many would you be in contact with, and how many do you think you should be setting?
Depends on how many dials have happened within that week.
Mm.
Because if they don't answer the phone the first time, my method is speed to lead and then consistency follows.
Right.
And what I find is it's call 3 is your highest pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And then call 6 is your highest pickup.
Yeah.
So within that week time, if you hit them that 3rd and 4th time, you're calling new leads. Your number should still be in my opinion, out of 10, you should be hitting 4 conversion.
Right. So if one of the things I think a huge mistake when it comes to working and prospecting that I see in the industry is, we'll call one time and we won't call it back for 2 weeks, or maybe it never gets called back, or maybe we called it once or twice and be like, oh, I don't have any more leads to call, right, or whatever it may be. So walk us through that process of speed to lead, follow up. How many contacts you make for your brokerage or your team before you give up on a lead?
New lead coming in, and again, talking about lead source, if they come in and they say they want to see a property, or they're having a specific question on a property, that is speed to lead. Everything else, if it's a Google PPC or a Facebook,
yep,
as long as it's that day, right?
Right.
They're not like, oh my God, I want to go see a house. So the first initial contact when the lead comes in, and then I put everybody in a bucket that registered the last 14 days. Because it's crucial to find out where these people are in the process and have the conversation early in the game to know exactly what's going on. That's your highest priority.
Mm-hmm.
In those 14 days, 6 to 8 attempts. And it used to be, what I used to do is they had 10 attempts within 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the most important thing within those attempts is changing the time frame, because people have habits. It has to be convenient for them, not you.
Yep.
If you go into your office and it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you always want to make your phone calls at 8 o'clock in the morning, if you're calling them at 8 o'clock those 6 times, you're not going to get a hold of the people that have habits. So you have to increase that conversation.
Right. So if you have an ISA or you're doing prospecting yourself, a couple critical conversion topics here that will either help you make a lot of more transactions, or basically, if you don't do it, in my opinion, you're blowing money out the window. You're opening your window to a pile of cash, and it's just going to blow out. And that is this: number one, how many times that lead is getting contacted within the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
So if it's not getting contacted 8 to 12 times, and we've tracked this, and I love how you said that 6 to 8 number, because we say 8 to 12. Not all of them are by phone, though. We say 6 by phone, right? So which is right in line with what you're saying, and we've never even talked about this topic before, right? So you're seeing 2 different professionals from different, and doing the same thing, same results. And we've tracked this over 40 inside sales agents in every part of the country, and it has never changed that if a lead does not get contacted 8 to 12 times within the first 14 days, it is going to severely, dramatically hurt your conversion. And unless you're just barely touching and hitting that low-hanging fruit, that 3%, it's going to be very hard to get an ROI on your lead generation. But more importantly, it's going to be very hard to hit your transaction goal, which is why you bought the leads in the first place, right? Is to ultimately, hit your transaction goal. Now, on the flip side of it, if you do find a way between, if it's an agent or an ISA, to commit to that, and then, to Beverly's point, rotate the times of which they're calling. And I like prospecting in 2-hour blocks. It gives you a really solid focused time, right? So where you're hitting those leads in different times, and that's what our ISAs, generally speaking, will do. And what's powerful about that is you get the people that didn't pick up, right, in the morning, that now pick up in the afternoon, or vice versa if you're switching the time blocks, and those different things. And then you layer in a text message campaign, right? Text messaging capabilities, where if your agent or your ISA has the ability to communicate through text, or direct to voicemail or email, and now you have your multi-channel marketing going, like Jonathan teaches, where we have all channels of marketing, where it's not just the outbound, but everything else working together. But if that outbound is not there, okay, and you're just depending on the other forms of marketing, okay, you're screwing yourself. I don't know how else to put it. I don't mean to be too blunt about it, but is that okay if I just be real? Like, you're screwing yourself out of a lot of transactions if you do not have somebody prospecting minimally a couple hours a day, if not full time, okay, on leads that are new coming in. Now, if you're a client of ours, and you also have the behavioral analytics playing on your side, where we're ranking your hot leads, and we can basically pinpoint and try and predict the behavior of where they're at in their buying or selling cycle. So you have that benefit but somebody should be on those, calling them, right? Hawking them. And it can't be just 1 or 2 dials. It's got to be 8 to 12 touches. And some of these things I think we know, right? It's not like maybe we've heard this in a seminar, or maybe we've read it in a book, or, from another coach or whatever. But I just want to encourage you that the dollar sign should be going off in your head with this conversation, because there's not too many other topics where your dollar per hour of activities is higher than what you can do with what we're talking about right now. Because more money is made during the hours of prospecting and reaching out. It's a very high dollar per hour activity, very high dollar, versus other things you could do, like paperwork or, whatever it may be. So walk through that, Beverly. What do you got to add to that conversation as far as ROI, paying for leads, and then not having somebody do that 8 to 12? You have anything to add there? Okay.
Oh,
I know you've seen it all. So
how much time do we have?
Yeah.
I just don't even understand.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing to add to that is, that's your highest dollar activity if you continue to roll the ball. Because when you have that first initial conversation, it's not over with that initial conversation. There's always that follow-up. And that's where 95% of us fail, because the rush is not in the follow-up. The rush is in that first, I got it, because it's the unknown. But when we go back to follow up with what we've talked about with that lead, it's not as fun. And even in the handoff with that first initial conversation, whenever we hand it off to the agent, follow the freaking instructions and do what the ISA set in regards to expectations. Because if we say don't follow up until after 6 tonight, don't call them at 3.
Right.
And you know, it's showing your value and continuing that value. If you're paying for leads and you're just expecting those leads to call you, ain't gonna happen. It's 2020 and these leads are in multiple platforms.
Yeah, that's another good point. Other people are reaching out to them.
Yeah, he who has the conversation is the one that is setting up their pipeline. Whether they're ready today or next year, I'm sorry, you're probably still going to be doing real estate next year. So build the pipeline over time and pay attention to the freaking pipeline. Because you have deals. What you're doing today is where you're going to be in 60 to 90 days. So get on the freaking phone, and in 60 to 90 days, you're going to have some transactions.
Yep. I love it. And you know, one of the things I was having kind of having a fun conversation, and then let's transition into some role play. But I was having a fun conversation in a private Facebook group, and the conversation, you know, is, you know, like what's the most important thing? Is it having a coach, you know, and like to be successful and make sure you hit your real estate goals? And it's like, is it having a coach? Is it having like cool technology, right? Is it, you know, is it having the right team, right? Like they're all good. It's all good stuff. Like, and there's a lot of important things that do lead to success. But at the end of the day, it comes down to something that's so simple. And that's your ability for you and your teams to be able to identify a buyer and seller and convert it into a transaction. That's really it. And if we're real about it, we get caught up in a lot of other things, right? We get caught up in a lot of other activities or maybe projects or, you know, shiny objects that we kind of start going after, and we forget the simplicity of the pipeline, right? And how important it is to make sure that we're creating an environment in our team, in our office, in our team that's focusing on this conversation, that's focusing on improving their skills, their sales and marketing skills, their ability to be able to reach out, follow up, and convert, right? And that's really, at the end of the day, sometimes I think we overcomplicate real estate, right? But at the end of the day, it's your ability and you and your team's ability to reach out, get the attention, follow up, and convert that lead into a transaction. That's it. It's that simple, right? And that's your pipeline. So
Isaiah, I always say you may be in real estate, but you're realistically in the database gathering.
Yep. Industry. That's right.
You're focused on gathering data to your database.
Yep. And hyper focusing on ways to convert the database, right? And that's our core product. So that's why we really focus on that. So with that, let's take some Q&A. Let's take some questions here, and we're going to transition. If you want to get ready, I'd like to start off with a role play, Beverly, where Ron, if you could be the homeowner, and Beverly's going to call you, I guess, as a buyer. Well, Ron, if you could be a buyer, I should say, not a home, but somebody who's looking to buy a home. And Beverly, what type of lead do you want Ron to be? A Zillow, Realtor.com, doesn't matter. How do you want to engage in this role play?
It's really going to be up to what everybody else wants, because
okay, put in the chat. Let's put in the chat. Let's open it up to our to our attendees. What type of buyer lead do you want Ron to be? What platform did Ron come in off of before we start this role play? Okay. We got some action happening in chat. We got a FSBO. We'll do a FSBO next. We're going to focus on buyer leads first. Thanks, Donnie, though. But we're definitely going to have a FSBO conversation. Okay, Tammy says PPC. All right, so that's good. Facebook.
Hang on.
Donnie says, "Whoops." It's all good, Donnie. We love you.
So are we role playing with Ron or his twin brother here?
I don't know which one. That's funny. All right, so we'll just we'll do a pay-per-click lead. So you found basically, I get, you found Beverly on Google or whatever. Bev, why don't you'll just roll with it, right? Just
Yeah, don't roll over, Ron. Be tough on me.
you don't have to worry about
See
that
that
with Rod.
face? There's no rolling over on that face.
So what am I?
You're a buyer. You're looking for a home, Ron, and you came across Beverly's website.
I need to mute on one of them. All right.
I just found you on a website. I think. So.
Yeah,
There we
you're.
go.
Can some Jonathan? I think
I
you
did
can
it.
kick him. Okay.
Yep.
Is that you, Jonathan? No, that's me.
Yeah, Ron's in twice.
It's because he has two names in here. Just
Yeah,
gotta log out of one of them.
Yeah, he's
Ron, you're in the group twice, so you just.
I
gotta
see
log
that. I'm trying to get it out once.
in. There we go.
Does that work?
Oh yeah.
All right. Sorry about
Ron, I just have to make a comment. You're just beside yourself.
that. I tell you, I got two computers here. One of them just cracked a bed. Now it's back up. I don't know.
You're just-
Sorry about it.
okay. Good. Whenever you guys are for the role play.
Ron, where do you live? Give me a town.
No, he's frozen.
And now he's gone. So do you want me to be the buyer?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
That was such a good question. You froze him.
All right, Beverly. So my name's John, and I live in Rochester.
Rochester, New York. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Sure.
Ring, ring.
Hi, this is John.
Hey, John, it's Beverly. I am doing a quick check-in. I saw that you were online and you were browsing some homes in the Rochester area.
Yeah. I was thinking about moving possibly next year. Like next spring.
Fantastic. And what is your current situation right now? Do you own? Do you rent?
Currently, we're renting an apartment. It's the first time we've ever thought about buying a home. We just got married about a year ago.
Well, congrats. That's exciting.
Thank you.
So question, as far as your rent, are you, when is your lease term? When is your lease up?
So the lease is up in January, and we were debating if we want to get out right in January, or if we can't find anything, we'll probably move back in with the parents for a couple months.
Perfect. So you do have that option. So if you find something, or if you don't find anything, you're not going to feel like pressured into anything.
Right.
Awesome. How long have you been looking so far? Did you start the process, or have you been looking for a while?
Yeah, we just started about 2 months ago. Google, Zillow, those kind of things.
So you haven't been in any homes, you've just been
No.
searching online.
No, we haven't done that yet.
So as far as this being your first home, in the regards of what the process looks like, have you talked to anybody? Well, let me ask you first of all, how much are you paying for rent?
We pay about $950 in rent right now.
And that $950, are you trying to keep your mortgage payment in and around that number? Or do you have a little bit of flexibility?
We'd like to stay under 13.
And if you talk to anybody in regards to what a price point looks like to keep you comfortable with that $1,300 number?
Yeah, one of my good friends is a real estate agent, so he's been letting me know about some of the property values in the area, what I should be looking at, what my mortgage would be like. He said it's usually around $100 a month for every 1,000 that you're purchasing, or 10.
Okay, but you haven't talked to a lender or a loan officer yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so just a quick explanation. I don't want to step on any toes with your friend, but yeah, that's a common guideline to go by. But if you're looking at that January timeframe, I mean, my gosh, next week's October already. Can you believe it? Time is just going so fast. This year just went so fast. So the best thing for us to do right now is really prepare you for that number, just to confirm. Because when you're talking taxes and insurance, depending on what county, depending on what location, the taxes can fluctuate, and we want to make sure that we respect that number. As far as talking to a lender, do you have somebody in mind that you would talk to as far as a lender?
No, I've never even done this before, so I have no idea what lender, I should even try to go to.
Totally understand. I would love to make that connection for you, just to talk with somebody to confirm what your numbers are looking like, just so we can be comfortable. Because while you're looking online, we don't want to give you a steak if you can only get the hot dog, right? So I would love to do that for you, but let's back up to your friend. Are you planning on utilizing his services moving forward to find a home?
I mean, I've thought about it, obviously it would come down to who I felt like could, do the best job, but obviously he's going to get an opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't want to step on any toes, John, and it's 2020, man. Freaking everybody has their real estate license right now. Does it seem like that to you?
Yeah. I've known a couple of friends that just got it recently, so.
And what's most important to me is this is a huge investment into your future. You're just newly married. This is something that you and your wife are doing together. And this is a big investment for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to me to make sure that you trust that person is protecting your investment in the future and saving you the most amount of money moving forward. Would you agree?
Yeah. Nope, that's definitely true.
So I would love the opportunity to earn your business. I'm going to connect you with a lender. Is there a time, what are the best times that you and your wife are actually together?
Probably tomorrow around 4.
And John, would that be a good time for us to just grab a cup of coffee and meet and sit down and just talk about expectations?
That's right when we get out of work, so it'd probably be later on, like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock sounds wonderful. And honestly, what we're just going to talk about is really what the whole process looks like moving forward, because let's face it, men love their man cave and women love it's all about the kitchen and the bathroom. So we just want to make sure that we have proper expectations. We can get you in alignment with a lender, and we can kind of see what this process looks like moving forward. And if it's a fit, great. If not, I totally understand. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for me.
Fantastic. And just one more thing, if anything pops up, I do have you on the calendar for 5 o'clock tomorrow. If anything pops up, just, do the courtesy and just give me a quick text message and we can reschedule. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome, John. I will see you tomorrow. And what's your wife's name?
Christina.
Wonderful. I will see you and Christina tomorrow.
Cool. Awesome. So let's break down that call starting from the top. Beverly, what were you hearing? What were you thinking? Why'd you ask the questions that you did?
Those are the main things I need to know. And I always say I backdoor my information.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him how long he's been looking,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of if he's been looking in homes. That's my way of asking if he has an agent.
Okay.
And then the question of, have you talked to anybody about, I asked him how much he was paying for rent. $950. Do you have, is that what you're trying to keep your mortgage payment at? Because then I'm thinking, oh God, $950 in that location, is that even gonna be possible, right? For a home purchase. Do you have flexibility? So now I know he wants to pay $1,300. As an agent, I kind of have an idea of what price point we're in right now, right? And getting him to the lender. John, how did that feel, kind of getting you to the lender that way instead of, hey, if you need to talk to a lender?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like how you basically sidestepped the fact that my friend was an agent and then went right into the lender, because now you're providing more information than my friend did. And then you came back to that afterwards. So it kind of, as a buyer, I would be more interested in working with you because you were providing more information.
And that's the main thing with friends, that we as agents are afraid to tap into that because we're like, oh, we don't want to, kill the friendship. But the reality is friends don't really work that hard for people, because they're like, I got in the bag. I don't have any competition. They're going to use me. Well, not use them, but they're going to use my services. They're going to utilize my services because we're friends. So they don't work hard.
Yeah,
Right?
isn't that interesting? Yeah. Awesome. All right. So what questions do we have for Beverly before we go on to maybe Beverly, do you call Facebook leads at all? Have you called Facebook leads? Okay, cool. So I'd like to do that one next, but let's just give an opportunity for questions. And then what we'll do is we'll transition into Force of My Owner, and Didio, if you could queue up that after we do the Facebook leads. That way we kind of hit all the role play requests that have come in. I believe we would have hit them all. So any questions for Beverly before we move on? Going once, going twice. Okay. let's go on to Facebook lead. So Ron's back. I think we got Ron back. Awesome.
Hopefully this time.
So John, thanks for doing the role play. That was great.
Sure.
Beverly, Ron's going to be the buyer. He came in off of Facebook this time. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I have a question, Ron. Before we go into role play, did you click on a particular listing? Did you click on to see a list of homes? What did you click on?
Listing.
Listing. I love these, not really, but anyway. Okay. We're talking about ABC buyers and the listing Facebook. They're the tough ones. All right.
Yeah, they're a B list for sure.
What town are you in, Ron?
I'm actually in Florida.
We're at in Florida.
I'm Rotunda area, which is Punta Gorda.
Rotunda. All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Ron.
Who's this?
Hey, this is Beverly. I'm just quick call. I saw that you were looking at 123 Main Street over in Rotunda on Facebook.
How'd you know that?
Oh, well, you went on Facebook and you clicked on the listing and you were looking for more information. Did you find what you were looking for?
No, I'm just shopping. I saw it. It looked nice house. I just was checking it out. I'm a Facebook surfer.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, just a couple of quick questions, Ron. Do you have any intentions on making a purchase at all in the Rotunda area?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful area, but man, I'll tell you, prices are ridiculous.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Where do you live now, Ron?
Right now, I live in Rochester, New York.
Rochester. And what would bring you down to Rotunda?
No snow, no leaves,
And we're coming up on winter, aren't we?
Yep.
Now, would you like to spend the winter down here, or are you going to, what, if everything was perfect and I had a magic wand, what could we make happen for you as far as a home in Rotunda?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball either, but I would just say it's going to come down to price. Mm-hmm. I got, when you look at these houses and, I like the fact that some are on canals. I like pools. I like to have a nice pool, but the main thing is to find a beautiful area where this will be the last one.
Okay.
This will be the last house.
Okay. And your home in Rochester, as far as, would you be keeping that home or would you be selling that home?
No, I got to sell it. I got to, I'd like to buy the house cash in Florida, but I don't know if I have enough money, but I got to sell the house here.
Okay. Have you talked to anybody about your home and what the value is and what a buyer would pay for it in today's market?
Well, I feel I know what the value is. I mean, I've been here, a lot of years, I pretty much know what it's worth, but I don't even know if I need an agent to sell my house.
Well, it is a seller's market. So let me ask you this, Ron. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this process to make a home happen in Rotunda?
5.
5. Okay. So you kind of want it, but it's not like, oh my gosh. So as far as price range, when you say prices are expensive, what is a price range for you? Realistically now, Ron, take it easy on me. What is a realistic price that?
I'd like to keep it under 300,000.
Okay. And what have you been seeing so far?
For 300,000, man, what I'm leaving and what I'm going to, it's a little tough.
Yeah, well, we don't have the snow.
Yeah, well, we got riots. But right now, you got a lot of COVID. I got to be careful of that too.
Florida, don't we? But yeah.
But
well,
everybody.
That is a whole other conversation. We can talk Democrats, right? We can talk politics all day long. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you're to 5.
Yeah.
Right now, what would be the most important information that I could get to you now while you're in this process of figuring out when you want to make this happen?
Well, I guess, I'm looking on my own, and you could go to Zillow, and that's not very accurate there because I've called a couple agents in Florida, and next thing you know, the property's already sold. It doesn't say it says available, and then it's not available. And So I guess what I want to do is I want to concentrate on looking at houses that are available. Now, I got to say this to you, Beverly, I'm going to be doing this virtually.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to Florida to look at houses. So do you have that capability so that I can get in there and what's your program? How are you going to do that?
I love that you asked that question, Ron, because we do have a lot of people that are not local. And we have FaceTime today, right? We can virtually see homes on an iPad and you can be right there walking through it with us. The most important thing for me right now is if you want to try and stay in that 300,000 price point, the only thing that makes a sale happen is opportunity meets expectation, right?
Well, obviously you got to be at the right place at the right time.
Exactly. So my job is to find the opportunity to meet your expectation, right?
Would sound reasonable.
Yeah. So what I need to find out is for 300,000, what makes it worth Ron's while to make this move? That's the most important thing, correct?
Well, like I said, they're all ranches in Florida, so the style is the style.
Mhm.
But I gotta have a pool. I want to be on a canal or a
Mhm.
pond, water, and I want to be in them neighborhoods where there's, it's God's waiting room. All the old people are there.
Here's what I'm going to do, Ron. So I'm going to confirm your email address. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over, I'm going to call this the first batch. Because as I get to know your likes and dislikes, it's going to help me better understand what you want for your money. And then we can just start process of eliminating. And this, I'm going to be in real estate in 6 months. I don't care if this takes 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I want it to work at your time frame. Does that work for you?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you what, you send me a house that I like,
Mm-hmm.
you can sell it for me.
All right. Well, that's the plan. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The website that you're in, you do have access to everything that's on the MLS. So all those other sites that you're probably in, you can go and unsubscribe from all of them. So I'm going to send you the email, and all you need to do right now is pay attention to the emails that I'm sending you, because I understand your situation and I want to earn your business. How does that sound?
Okay, we'll see.
You are correct. By me saying I want to earn your business, I'm going to work diligently.
Okay.
No promises though, Ron.
Well, if you don't give me the properties, you don't gonna sell it to me.
If I can't meet your expectations, if opportunity isn't there, I can't make you buy, right?
Well, like I said, you send me the properties, and if they look good, we'll get the tour going, and I'll be happy to put an offer in.
Wonderful, Ron. Well, I look forward to talking to you next.
Okay, you have a good day.
You too.
All right, walk us through the call.
Priceless.
That was priceless.
I could role play with Ron all day.
Oh, Ron's fun to role play with for sure. Ron keeps it entertaining.
Imagine 9 months of that and doing it for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
I think out of that scenario, the most important takeaway is when I asked on a scale of 1 to 10. Because especially when I'm handing a lead over to an agent, I want the agent to know what their potential is of that conversion. So when he says a 5, I go right to if I had a magic wand or the crystal ball, right? It's tell me what your thoughts are, because I'm not going to sit here and promise you the world if you're at a 5. Mm-hmm. Right? But I need a little bit more information. If you're at a 5, how can I get him to an 8? Like what is he thinking in his head?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I wanted to see if you think of the glass half full or half empty.
It's half full, Ron.
All the time. I figured this conversation could be over right now.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And sometimes it's important to ask and dig a couple layers deep, because the half empty mindset will just give up on that too quick. Like, oh, he's only a 5. Oh God. And we're just believing him, right? It's a first conversation, right? He's not going to show all his cards. You got to open them up, warm it up. So April asked a really good question. She said, this role play is huge. I never know how to deal with people who can sell the home themselves. So I think April, you're referring to like if they're going to do like a forced sub owner type of situation.
comment. He goes, I don't even know if I need a realtor.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
that, I would park that in my notes for the next conversation, because if he's only at a 5, don't even go there on this phone call.
Yep.
Just know that that is going to be something, because the reality is I now know he has to sell to purchase. And what I'm trying to find out is what's that number that he's going to walk away with, because he may be saying, oh my God, homes are so expensive down in Florida, but he may be walking away with 500,000 on his house.
Yep.
So what in his mind is expensive? Yeah, prices are higher in Rotunda than they are in Rochester.
Yep.
So are we really talking about expense, or are we talking about if you can come down here and pay cash because of what you're going to make off of your home up here? Does it really matter how much it is?
Yep.
If it's going to change your lifestyle, because I know his pain point, he wants to get out of the winter.
Yeah, I think that this is such a huge conversation, because there is a level of qualifying, and you got to have that. But sometimes what we do is we take their objections or concerns and then disqualify them too soon in our mind, right? So like, and it's so important not to get ahead of the natural buying and selling process that should take place, like trying to overcome their objection of wanting to work with a realtor before we've even gone through the first step of discovery. Right? So like that's a common mistake that I see happen a lot. That when I train and coach prospecting, is we're not compartmentalizing the phases of where they're at in our process, right? In the process of buying and selling. So any comments you want to?
Have you ever watched a crime show, Isaiah? When
Yeah. Yep.
investigators investigate.
Yep. Sherlock Holmes, my favorite.
And they have the board in the negotiation room, and they have all these pictures, right, of all these prospects.
Yep.
I look at this process as I was talking to him, okay, is a home to sell. Okay, he's only at a 5. Okay, look, the prices are expensive. He doesn't like the winter. It's putting up all those different pictures and leading it all to one place.
That's awesome. I like that. That's a really powerful visual. April, would you like us to expand any further? I want to make sure we're answering your question. So if you have something very, specific that we can cover to make sure that you feel confident in that, we answered your question here. So, okay, last conversation helped. Good. Awesome. All right, so we're going to transition to for sale by owner. Unless there's, so while we're transitioning and getting ready here, Ron, if you could be the for sale by owner, and Didio is going to be the inside sales agent.
Oh,
do we have any questions or thoughts before we move on the last conversation that happened with Beverly and Ron? Buckle up for April says, buckle up for this one.
Now, Ron, on a level of FSBO, don't do what we used to do at the ULM office, okay? Okay.
John's a big boy.
John's a big boy. All right, ready when you guys are.
All right, ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, I was looking for the owner of 123 Main. I believe it's Ron.
Yeah, that's me. What do you want?
Ron, I saw your ad on Zillow. You were asking about $375 for the 3-bedroom. Are you still taking offers, or has that property sold?
Yeah. Are you a buyer?
It's a great question. Is there an agent that I should be addressing these questions to, or is it listed on the MLS, or are you just kind of handling the property yourself?
No, I don't have an agent, but are you a buyer?
Well, I'll tell you the reason for the call. I know you've probably gotten a lot of calls from realtors. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm not a realtor. I do work with RE/MAX. I work with one of the top brokers in the area. His name is John Modine. He wanted me to reach out to you, just get some information about the house. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I think that we might be able to help each other. First off, I got to ask though, I mean, this is a gorgeous house. I mean, what's the reason you guys even decided to put it on the market? Are you just looking to downsize?
No, because I can sell it.
You picked a great time to sell. How's the traffic coming so far? Have you had any offers as of yet?
Real good. No, yeah, pretty soon. Coming in.
Okay. Now, do you guys already have another place to go, once the property sells, or are you still kind of shopping around?
No, I don't know. I'm good. I got a place to go.
Okay, you do. All right. So this property, everything in this ad, this is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Everything is on here is correct, right?
Yeah. Why would you
Okay.
not put it correct?
Well, sometimes Zillow, they don't put the right information, so I want to make sure I have everything correct. Now, the 375, how did you come up with that price? Did you base it off of comps, or did you have an appraisal done recently? I only
No.
ask because people are leaving money on the table.
I got a friend in the business. He gave me a good analysis.
Okay. How long ago did you look at that? Was that recently, or was it a few months ago?
Yeah.
Okay, because I see it's been on the market here for about 60 days here. So here's the thing. As I mentioned, you picked a great time to sell. Pretty much everybody, is buying and, buys in the spring, but COVID kind of threw a wrench in everyone's plans, right? Nobody could really buy. So since the market's opened back up, buyers have flooded the market and they're willing to pay a premium. Okay, they're looking to take advantage of the lowest interest rates in history. And because there's very little inventory on the market, pretty much everything is moving in less than a week, most of them with multiple offers. Now, the downside is even in a hot market, homes, if they don't sell in about 2 weeks, most people start getting lowballed. I'm guessing the whole reason you did this on your own is you want to save on commissions and maximize your net. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. It's not that hard to do.
Okay. Well, Ron, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can kind of open yourself up to a larger portion of the market and put this home into a situation to where you could potentially entertain multiple offers and maybe even net more, that's a conversation to at least know what that might look like, right?
Maybe.
I mean, especially considering the market's been on the market here for a couple of months.
Well, I'm in no hurry to sell it. I don't have to sell the house. All paid for.
Believe me, I completely understand that, but we're in a market that we haven't seen in a long time. It's a buyer's market and a seller's market. As I said, homeowners are willing to pay premiums for properties because essentially it's almost free money. They can afford 10 to 15% more house than they could have a year ago. Okay, so based on that, what I'd like to do is just recommend a conversation with a gentleman who typically, when he puts a property out there, he usually puts 3 to 6% more in a homeowner's pocket, just because of the reputation he has in the industry. He's moved over 700 homes just in the last 2 years. In fact, he's so confident in his ability to get the property sold, he won't even ask you to list the property any longer than 90 days. You might have heard of him. His name's John Modine. Probably seen a lot of his signs. Now he's actually meeting some people in the area tomorrow and also Thursday. Just wanted to have him stop by, give you a good idea as far as what you can put in your pocket if you decided that you wanted to work with somebody. Is it typically better for you in the mornings or the afternoons?
Well, if he wants to come over, have him call me.
I could do that. I'm also going to give you a little bit of more information about him. What's your email?
It's Joe Matarazz at gmail.com.
Okay, so I got Joe Matarazz at
That's it.
gmail.com.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, as I said, he's going to be in the area tomorrow.
I'm
How would
busy.
3 or 5 o'clock work?
I'm not interested in meeting with him. If he's got a buyer, call me or email me. But if he doesn't have a buyer to come over, because I'll give him a good spiff. Don't worry, I'll about take care of him. But the bottom line is I don't need an agent.
Well,
I'm in a hurry.
Believe me, I understand. And like you said, you mentioned that you don't, and you're not in a hurry to sell the property, but it's been
Obviously,
60
you
days.
know that. You're telling me my house has been on the market for all these days and it should have been sold before. So I'm in a hurry. And if it is what you say, the market's so good, then I'm waiting for that buyer to come give me that big price.
But as I mentioned, usually in this market, homes, if they move in about 2 weeks, most people start getting lowballed, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you can open yourself up.
Is that baseball? Low? What's a low ball?
Ron, basically what I mean is lower offers start coming in. Okay. Have the offers that you've gotten, so far within that 60 days, have they been around what you were looking for? They've been lower.
Yeah, they've been a little lower. I've had some offers, but I'll always call those people back and tell them, okay, we'll talk serious now.
I mean, Ron, if you were a buyer and you saw a property sit on the market for 30 days, would you make an asking price offer? Most likely you wouldn't. Now, something 60, you're probably going to make an even lower offer. Why? Because, why would you make an asking price offer on something that's been sitting?
Well, you got this all figured out. That's pretty good. I'm pleased that you got this all figured out. Have your guy call me, and I'm happy to talk to him.
I'll tell you what, I can do you one better. I know he's got a couple quick questions about the property, and I've been kind of talking your ear off. You got a quick second to talk?
Nah, I got, my wife's got macaroni on the table. I'm coming. I gotta go eat.
All right, Ron, I'll have him give you a call later on this evening. How's 6 o'clock work?
Not a problem.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good,
Bye.
good stuff. Awesome, John, for the scenario. Well done, man. Let's give him a round of applause.
Nice job, Johnny.
God,
Yeah, that was a tough one. It's a tough one.
You're hired, John.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, John, walk us through that call. What were you thinking? And let's hear from comments and questions from the crowd too.
Well, he's somebody I typically deal with on a daily basis. Somebody who really doesn't like to listen to anything that I say and just kind of wants to do what he wants to do. Those ones, what I'll usually do is I will try to go to the live transfer and then I'll set up a PVL.
Mhm.
But with Ron, I was kind of thinking that he just wanted me to overcome the objection.
Yep.
And what I was trying to use his experience right now that he's going through to kind of overcome that. It's been sitting for 60 days.
Yep.
Eventually he's going to miss the market because we've already hit September and most of the properties out there are moving in less than a week.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right? So why isn't his?
I like it. I like it a
Basically
lot.
the exposure, right? But Ron's Ron. So we gotta do that phone call.
You know, one of the things I like your approach there, and one of the things that we also train is after you've tried to overcome, you know, the objections, you've tried a combination of you know, logic, which I think you hit them strong with logic. Ron, what was your pain and motivation? Like, why were you selling in the first place? Where were you looking to go once this sold?
Well, I really didn't tell him I had any pain or motivation. Obviously, I told him I didn't have to sell. It's paid for.
Yep.
So he really didn't get me to give it to him, basically. So I was kind of pushing him hard so that, you know, see how far he'd go to get that pain and motivation or come back to it. He didn't come back to it. But, you know, the thing is that he kept me on the phone. And, you know, there was one point that, you know, it would have been bye.
Yeah.
But he kept me on the phone.
Yeah.
And just that, and then I said, you seem to know a lot about this. All right.
You impressed him. Yep.
He did. I was impressed. So probably, again, we're playing, but in real life, probably would have talked to that agent. But I wasn't going to let him off the hook.
Awesome. You know, so for our viewers, a couple things to think about is what's their, you know, when they say, hey, I don't have to sell, right? You know, it's all paid off. Well, there is a reason why he is selling. So that's what I want to know, right? So I'm going to find that out indirectly or directly. So a couple really powerful questions you can ask to a for sale by owner would be like, hey, well, ideally, if you did get the price that you wanted for it, you know, because it is on the market, would you need to find another house first, or don't you need to? And find out and talk more about what they're going to be doing after the home sells, and get into the buying side. And oftentimes, you'll actually find what the actual real pain and motivation is by asking the questions about what happens after it sells. Now, in fairness to John, you can't do that right away with this type of personality. You gotta have that conversation and go through maybe a couple knee jerks and objection cycles. And then that's probably, you could probably start asking those questions after your first cycle, when he talked about the 60 days, right around that time frame. You could start asking some different questions. But you ask those questions too early on, Ron's going to be like, what are you asking all these questions for? Right. So like, you know, so it is very delicate. So I think, you know, John, well done. You know, just for our crowd. The other thing I'd like to do is a plan B, you know, to say, okay, great. Well, 60 days, Ron, I can appreciate where you're coming from. At the end of the day, you want to net the most you can. You know, at some point, everyone's got a time and opportunity cost, right? So let me ask you, like, what does that look like for you? What's your plan B if it doesn't, if it sits on the market for another like 2 weeks, right? What's the plan, that plan B look like? And again, if I ask that question, I might be able to find the pain and motivation by asking that question too, right? So just as a couple points of conversation for our viewers. So.
And the
I like
plan
that.
B is kind of like whenever I ask on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you fall?
Say that again.
Whenever I ask
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your importance level? And plan B is kind of finding out the same thing.
Right. Yep.
Another thing you could say too, Isaiah, is, you know, okay, other than you just staying in your home and doing what you're doing now, day in and day out, what's your plans if you don't sell it? Other than that, what would it do
I like
to your
it.
plans? You know, but remind them, you just keep doing the same thing day in, day out.
I like it.
You know?
That's good.
And I wanted to ask Ron, at the beginning, John, when you were punching John Didio metaphorically in the face with pretty much the tone, he kept it very, very calm and cool the whole time. Did you intentionally calm down with him? Or
Yes.
I was going to say, it would almost seemed like it was just a natural progression. John de-escalated the entire conversation and got me down to his level very, very quickly.
John is a great negotiator because my level's going up and he stays calm, which is going to bring me down.
Yep.
So now he's talking to me and I'm not talking at him. We're talking to each other.
That's good.
It was a great job. He did a great job.
Yep.
That was a great observation, Jonathan. That was a great observation.
I think 2 years ago I got in an argument with you, Ron. And I would have been yelling at you, telling you why you need to meet with John.
2 months ago, you would have done that, John.
2 months ago.
He's come a long way.
Cool.
That's funny.
Okay, so we got about 5 minutes here to wrap it up. I think there's really awesome 3 role plays here. It's really good. Next week we're going to do more of actual live calling. Now that we've had a chance to kind of role play through each concept, we'll have basically it's 3 or 4 groups of people doing different calls live. One group maybe FSBOs and expireds, another group maybe some Zillow leads, Facebook leads, so that we can get a taste of it all. So make sure you bring your team next week, because it's going to be 80% is going to be live calls next week. So Beatty, Beverly's excited. She's excited. So, and literally there's probably going to be, 7 to 10 people on here. And here's the thing, I would encourage you guys, we don't have to hear you, but I would encourage you guys not just to be viewers. Okay. But to actually make calls with us, right? So we can grow and learn and get better together. Not just theoretical and theory, but we're actually taking action. So if you guys want to do that, let us know, and we'll make sure that we're all kind of connected. But even if you don't want to connect with us and you wanted to sit there and listen, I'd still encourage you to make some calls. Say, okay, let me call through now that I'm hearing this stuff, let me take what I'm hearing and apply it immediately, right? So, and also too, we would learn something from you. No, there's no doubt. We have some phenomenal agents. We would learn something with your participation, and so we would love that. And with that, Beatty, Ron, anybody have any final thoughts here before we wrap it up? Christina?
This was great stuff.
Awesome. Chris Castle, Jabrell, you guys have any thoughts? Anything you want to contribute, or are we good?
Chris's headset's acting up, but I was sitting next to him during this here, and he's like, how does John Didio do that? How does he overcome that? And it was just funny seeing, I got the real-time reactions over here of people who are doing it just as long during the day, and then sometimes a little newer to the scene. And no, I was saying, I think it's a really good learning experience for them too, because when do you have another situation to listen to someone who does this as well as John Didio does for so long, and then be able to pick up tips and tricks from him? Like, it's such a unique thing to be able to listen to. It's so cool. Oh, April, John, April wants to know, how long have you been prospecting for?
4.5 years. I can't even believe it's been that long, but 4.5 years.
Yeah,
wow.
Can you look back at your first phone call and remember?
Uh-huh.
Can you look back at your first phone call and remember your first objection?
No, but I have changed the way my process. Well, not really my process, but my verbiage. I can't tell you how many times. Like you were talking about last week, how you look at calls and look at where you can make changes. I used to do that on my ride home, thinking about calls that I had during the day and where I would get disconnects with homeowners. I would try different things and I would put myself into a homeowner situation because I'm a hard person to sell. So if I could sell myself, hypothetically, but you know what I mean? The verbiage that would sell myself, I could use that on a homeowner.
And that's been my experience, because with my buying and selling experience, I just tend to move like about every 3 to 5 years. And I've had way too many homes, and I've had a lot of experiences. And to point, I put myself in the eyes of that person. And I always say, we can never make a person move. And I always ask my agents, think about the last time you moved. Could anybody have made it happen any quicker for you?
You can only plant the seed. And basically help to create a little bit of curiosity and desire.
That's good. Jonathan just said John Didio was born with a headset on, or so the story goes. Or so the story goes.
April said that it sounded like you've been doing this since the day you were born, John. So
maybe that's why I don't have any hair on the back of my head. It's all worn out from my headset.
That's great. Well, John makes a good living doing what he does. He's really good, and we were very appreciative of your role play here, John. And thank you,
Thanks,
Beverly.
guys.
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. And we'll see you next week. Bring your team, bring your scripts, and if you want to prospect with us, we're going to prospect live. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Right.